Isn't it funny when you start the video and just like the first thing that comes on is Super Mario Bros. 3 music? It's so generic. It's so fucking YouTuber video essay. But anyway, I mean, that's just what came on, bro. Right? Don't blame me. Even though I could just pick a different playlist. But anyway, we're gonna go over the history of Now That We're Men. Traditionally considered the hardest level in the entire game. I mean, even casually, some people, might think that. I don't, but still. And I still wouldn't call it the hardest split in the game. I mean, even then, it would probably depend on the category, obviously. But if we're talking, you know, like no pause storage, no major glitches, etc., it's like the hardest category. For those categories, it's the hardest split. For those categories, I would probably say yeah. I'd say yeah, it probably is the hardest for like no pause storage. However, for like Hundo and stuff, I would say that, you know, Sunday 2 is quite a bit harder. Even if we combine Now That We're Men 1 and 2. But anyway, there's actually less developments for the non-extras Now That We're Men than I thought. But I'm, you know, still going over some stuff. I am skipping a couple minor things. Well, you'll see what I mean later, but yeah, there's a lot of links, but it's just so I could timestamp where I needed to get to. And because I don't think this will actually take super long, I have Hundo stuff in here too, and one all extras thing, and a theoretical thing, which you probably, if you're watching this, you certainly know what it is by now. But anyway, yeah, let's just get on with this. So this is Cole's slowest run that he uploaded, a 2:11:48, and now you're gonna see a Now That We're Men from fucking like mid-2013 in action. Let's fucking go. Okay, so on GameCube and PS2, if I recall correctly, you get a guaranteed Mindy stare here on GameCube and PS2. I don't know why, you just do. And yeah, just walking on the right side for some reason. Not too sure what that's about. Already has the popper skip. If you step on the other pillar, a popper spawns, and you have to watch a cutscene they have to sit through. So it's only like, you know, 2-3 seconds of time loss, but it is cool to see that even in, like, this run, doesn't step on the sign. He's gonna hit that spawner a lot. Manleys were more important, like, especially back in, like, you know, like, mid-2013 and a little further. Like, you'll see, like, well, look how many Manleys Cole has. Like, you can kind of gather that they're pretty important. But yeah, you can also see that he has upgraded spin. But anyway, he enters fucking combat, and if you've watched my history of combat arenas video, you already know this. But for those who did not watch it, yeah. Now That We're Men combat in what was once any percent. Kind of insane. Yeah. So we're just gonna watch it, cause funny. So, yeah, they need a lot of upgrades back in the day, because, you know, there were a lot of substitutes for strats and stuff. It was really weird, dude. They had a lot of health, for, like, Dennis and stuff. Like, they wouldn't, if I recall correctly, like, they weren't upgrading throw, but they were upgrading, like, health to, like, 5. It was just kind of weird. And here spin is upgraded, probably for BBBH combat, because spoilers, well, not spoilers, it's just kind of funny. This run also has BBBH combat, so spin was probably upgraded for that, and then it also helps for Now That We're Men. Cole's doing a lot of spinning and not bowling for some reason. I understand the ball, you know, you're like almost standing in place for an extended period of time, but I don't know, there's still situations where you can get it off and have it do a lot of damage. But yeah, this is 2x speed, and it's already, like, kind of taken a while. Theoretically, Now That We're Men combat can actually be fast, but I might also bring that up later if I remember the thing I'm thinking of. But yeah, you can see, like, it actually looks kind of similar to old Hundo strats, where you just kind of, like, well, not exactly, now Cole's just, he's making me look like a fool, immediately disproving me, but we kind of, like, would walk around in circles or half circles while, like, deflecting shots, occasionally bowling if we could. But yeah, I just needed to show this. This is the only any percent run with proof, recorded proof, as far as I'm aware, that has Now That We're Men combat in it, so yeah. God, you can see, like, it didn't have to be that slow at the end just then, but yeah, I feel like it's pretty clear that this is just not it. If I recall correctly, I'm pretty sure this run just, like, didn't do Sandwich Ring or Macho. Like, that's the kind of, like, Sandwich Ring would have been faster than what I just witnessed, but again, it's just, like, old routing stuff. I just had to show you because it's awesome. So, no cutscene skip yet. So now the man is looking fairly casual. I mean, skipped the popper from spawning. That's basically all that's happened so far. Although he did do a pretty decent ball shot. Yeah, that was honestly like a good ball shot, which is pretty funny that like they already had that like figured out. And Cole jumped to the wrong box there. I'm not sure why, but yeah, this was also known. That you can jump here and then jump across. And they're gonna do bungee. I say they, but I think it was basically just like Cole and Watsup running back in the day. Infinite Dives was known, which is kind of craz. I like how he didn't grab the 200 manlies in the center of the second, like, thing. But he's hitting, like, loads of boxes and stuff that he doesn't need. Wait, what did he upgrade just then? Oh yeah, health. That... I don't think that's notable here? Like, in this run, but it's hard to remember. But yeah, again, it's... oh, okay. It's looking pretty casual. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, this is before bash boosting. That's another death, unfortunately. This is before bash boosting, that's how old this run is. So the only time now that men combat was in any percent was at a time where, I forgot what I was, because I wanted to, because like I had to look through all these last night. Oh yeah, I didn't have bash boosting, but did have combat. So, it's kind of funny, Cole only had to hit this, this lobster 4 times, which is notable for later, but for now, just keep that in your brain. Still getting a bunch of manlies when he can. And then we move on to Area 2. So that Area 1 was, like, mostly casual. And of course, we got GameCube loads. There was something else kind of notable, maybe later. He got fucked there, I don't think that was his fault. But yeah, it's always been known that you can, like, jump on the door and then skip this entire section. Okay, that would, yeah, it just, I think, spun too early. But yeah, now that we're men, like, as I've said it in a million other videos, like, our standards were much lower back in the day. Even back in, like, 2018. So, like, we would just consider things that weren't even that hard to be, like, really hard. But anyway... here's a crazy little skip. It's kind of nuts. He did fuck it up, but you can see what he was gonna do. Like, isn't that nuts? That's why you need upgraded health, but they were also using it for, like, Dennis and shit, too. But before the days of bash boosting, this is how they would get across. Because it skips that huge arena. So yeah. Cole's first recorded run, skipped the huge arena, and now the women. Isn't that nuts? And then, go into floating block. And he even did the cartwheel buffer at the beginning. That's cool. I like that. I didn't even notice that yesterday. That's actually like sick. But yeah, this is gonna be a pretty generic like floating block. But yeah, like I said, like our standards were quite low even back in like 2018. So a lot of the difficulty of the run, like yeah, there were obviously strats. Yeah, and in 2013 there was strats as well. But like a lot of difficulty would literally just be like, don't lose loads of time in the floating block, the sponge bowl. You know, the combat. Just that kind of thing. But yeah, you can see it's just incredibly, like, basic, super casual. Just casual, but, like, done kind of fast. And then... you're gonna see a casual monster. Yeah, just, again, just doing a little bit of corner cutting and stuff, but yeah, nothing crazy. And then, there's this. That is a pretty cool-ass strat, I like that. Luckily, I never had to do this. It seems kind of annoying. But obviously, like, because Monster Skip wasn't a thing back then, like, this works out really well because it just makes this token I mean, this token's incredibly fast, pretty much no matter how you approach it, almost, but... Yeah, this is, like, the slowest way that you could do it, other than literally just doing it casually, like, in late game, or, like, you know, SCDA onwards. This is, like, the fastest way you can... the slowest way you can do it while still, like, skipping it. And yeah, then it's just the end of the level, and they even get to use Patrick's car wheel for the end. That's pretty cool. So, a pretty generic Now That We're Men. But, you know, of course, would have still been considered hard, especially that, like, weird skip with the eel. And then we fast forward to a 1:47:54, which was done in August. So only 3 months later. Cole already improved his time by a lot. And now we get to see this Now That We're Men, which isn't that different, but it still has some stuff. So, okay, yeah, so here's a weird thing, and I don't know why this is the case. So, you can tell by the splits that Cole did the thing that I've talked about it in a couple videos. This was especially popular in 2016 when everybody switched to Xbox. But runners would sometimes do Sandwich Driving 102 just before Now That We're Men, because they want to delay it as late as possible, because back then it had absolutely no strats. And obviously on Xbox it doesn't lose that much, but the reason why, like, you really don't want to do that on GameCube, it loses an entire load, and it loses, and you know, menuing and stuff as well, and having to talk to Mindy again. And it even takes like a teeny tiny bit to walk up to her to even interact with her in the first place. It's just a whole lot of lost time. I don't know how much it loses on Xbox, probably like 10 seconds or something, but... You know, 10, 11 seconds, but on GameCube, like, it's losing quite a bit more because you just add however much longer a GameCube load is. So yeah, it's pretty nasty. A lot of time loss, and the weird thing about it, the reason why I'm pointing this out, is because Cole's 211 did not do this. His 211 did not do this, but the 147 did. And I'm really confused about that. Well, actually, I'm looking at the run now. Wait, is this the run that just doesn't have Sandwich Driving 102 in it literally at all? No. Oh, wait, no, it does do... Oh, yeah, it doesn't do Sandwich Macho. That's what it was. But yeah, it does it in late game instead, but yeah. Like... I guess, at this point, Cole had enough tokens for Now That We're Men. Okay, so I guess at this point it wasn't figured out that you could literally just, like, do it at the end of 3K. I thought it was already known at this point. I don't know. But, yeah, that's a lot of time lost to just be had, like, right out off the bat. I don't think... Oh, and he upgrades spin here, but I don't think anything's actually notable here. I mean, he goes to the left side of the bridge, and he goes on the sign, but he's still hitting the spawner. Not doing combat. Fucking... Yeah, so from here on out, we're only dealing with 5 of the 6 Now That We're Men tokens. So yeah. And here's an interesting thing. He does not just cutscene skip, but the fast version of cutscene skip, which is making me wonder if the slow one was even known back then. He sets it up in a weird way. I don't know why he does it like that, but... Yeah, unless he, like... went to, like, not do it, and then he remembered, like, oh wait, no, I gotta do the strat. Maybe it was, like, brand new. I don't know, but... Yeah, he's doing the fast one, which is funny. It only saves, like, a second and a half over the easier one, so I don't even recommend this one, but yeah, this is already known back by August 2013, which is interesting, because nobody, I mean, not nobody, but people weren't really doing it in runs until, like, 2020. There was a runner doing it in 2018, but he was, like, the only one. But yeah, I think the rest of this is gonna look, like, pretty similar. Oh, here's another thing as well. Earliest fucking bungee ball ever. This is crazy. So, I'll go into more detail about bungee ball later, but obviously the objective is to hit targets from afar. You know what the weird thing is? This is the only run I could find that isn't, like, one of my runs that did a pseudo bungee ball. And obviously, like, you know, you can't guarantee you'll be on the same cycle here every single time, so it's not a reliable thing to go for anyway. How long did it even hold it for? Yeah, like, I don't even know if that hit anything. It did, it hit one target. But with, like, how long that charge was, and especially with, like, these last targets, these are, like, the fastest ones to hit, because they're all in a ring, so you can either go clockwise or counterclockwise, and it doesn't really, like, only hitting one, that's, like, nothing. Yeah, see, look, like, it definitely would have just been faster to dive that target. That's probably why he stopped doing it, is because he realized, like, okay, this shit's, like, not fast. But I just found it incredibly fascinating that there was a run that had, like, some weird, like, bungee ball in it. Also, it doesn't make sense, in both runs, he bashed the spitter once, did bungee, and then bashed it, like, afterwards. This doesn't make sense, because, first of all, what if you die in bungee and then you have to bash it twice anyway? That in itself. But then you realize, well, that wouldn't matter because you're waiting for the eel, but that's exactly the point. You're waiting for the eel, so after bungee, you want to bowl the eel ASAP, and then until segments of his body rise above the stomach acid, until that happens, there is nothing, you're just waiting, so that would be the time to kill the spitter, so just, like, unnecessary time loss there. And then, oh, I know, I think this is, like, yeah, this is the same. Bash boosting was known at this point, but for some reason he's not bash boosting across the stomach acid there. But here's an interesting thing. You know how he bowled the lobster 4 times earlier? This time he has to bowl it 6 times, and this became a standard for a long time, and we just didn't know any better. It felt like sometimes you only have to bowl like 5 times. It was just like a weird, inconsistent thing, but we'll get to that later. So Area 1's differences, more optimal, like, bridge walking at the beginning, jumping on the sign by the wall jumps, not doing combat, cutscene skip. I think that's it so far. If anything, he technically did a slower lobster by a tiny bit, but eh. Oh, and obviously he's just making less mistakes, like, that would just be expected at this point. Dude, you can get a lot of manlies from deflecting stuff with spin, but then you have to upgrade spin. But anyway, yeah, so this is a bash boost here, so it's way easier than having to do the other thing, and you don't have to upgrade health, so you don't need as many manlies. And that was, yeah, it was like the same speed overall, but it's obviously just way easier. And, well, the fact that you don't have to upgrade health, save time. Made a fucky-wucky there, but that's okay. I think from what I saw yesterday, again, I was tired. But I believe this is pretty much the same cycle. But I'll still have a quick look. We also need to check if the Chris Skip thing is well, it wasn't known as Chris Skip back then. It probably just would have been called, like, Monster. It might have even just been called Monster Skip or Frozen Lava Dessert Early. Or is it Desert? I think it's Desert. I actually don't remember. It's kind of bad because we just call it Chris Skip, so I literally, like, don't remember. But anyway, yeah, that looked... Oh, there is one difference. Before, Cole went on the trampoline at the end, but here, he literally just, like, cartwheeled off because it's, like, a couple of seconds faster. It might be a bit more than that. But then Monster will be the same, and then let's check to see if this is the same. Okay. So, I'm gonna mention this now then, because I don't think I'll have another opportunity to bring this up. You can reach it from, like, here if you do, like, a spin, cartwheel, double jump, but it is actually, like, weirdly hard. You don't have that much leniency. It is unironically kind of hard. That is an option, I believe, in any percent. Yeah, I think they might even still... It's hard to remember, but at the very least, it's, like, an option for any percent. And it is a good option in, like, I think APL and ETU. I don't think... Yeah, I think optimally you don't do them, but, like, for most runners, I think you'd want to do that. So, yeah, so that still has some relevance today, so that's pretty cool. But this version, is just not it, unfortunately, which sucks because it's kind of cool. And he executed it much faster than last time. But yeah, yeah, so that's Now the Men, like 3 months later. And then we're cutting to, like, 2.5 months later. I think not much, I mean, nothing has changed up to this point into Now the Men. But I just wanted to note this. He tries to do a bash boost across, but he dies. Tries to do it again, and unfortunately misses it. And then he just gives up. This was, like, rediscovered, like, a while later. I don't remember who found it, but this was discovered, like, a while later. It does save, like, a second or something over, bowling here. You'll never really see me do it anymore because it's hard to mess up Spewer Boost in a way that allows you to then do this as a backup. So you're generally just gonna see me either just successfully get Spewer Boost, miss Spewer Boost in a way that causes me to reset regardless, or I just have to back it up by using the pressure plate. At this point, I guess another notable thing. I think, I think, sandwich driving is now done earlier in the run. Yeah, it is. So you're not losing that insane amount of time like you were before. But yeah, like, this doesn't save them, and even then it's partly dependent on the cycle, the little platform cycles. But this was, like, not realized again for a long time, unfortunately. The way that he's doing it as well is just, like, not optimal, because you don't... Okay, so in like, Plank, for example, you might see a runner, like, do this, where they do a bash boost and then, like, turn the camera around, but because you need to, like, change directions, like, mid-damage boost, you actually are quite likely to lose speed when you turn. So Cole lost a good amount of speed, and he didn't spin afterwards. Well, actually, I don't think you can. Yeah, no, you can't spin, because you already spun to get the distance in the first place. This boost is honestly, like, low-key not really worth it, because it is, like, weirdly hard. Now, here's another weird thing. He does a bash boost here, but in his 138, he doesn't do a bash boost here. So I don't know what that's about. I think he, like, literally forgot about it or something. I feel like that was the only notable thing, but we'll check. Oh, no, he has Chris Skip, okay. So finally we have Chris Skip. Chris has been around for longer than like, anyone who's still around. I think Chris has had, like, on and off mode. Like, as far as I'm aware, he was not in the community, like, basically at all in, like, 2015 or whatever, but at least at this point, like, you know, because he was young as fuck back then, back in 2013, because he's, like, around my age. But he was a runner of the game, and he found this trick. And Cole called it Chris's Skip, and everybody was like, Chris Skip? Okay. So now it's known as Chris Skip. To be fair, it's just one of those ones where there's nothing better to call it, because Eel Boost, well, what about Monster Skip? Monster Skip, what about Monster Skip? Double Bash Boost, there's already a couple double Bash, maybe not at this point in time, but throughout the run there's like a couple double Bash Boosts. Frozen Lava early, you can already do it early in other ways. I mean, you could argue that this is like the only relevant one now, but even then, it's like, it just sounds weird. Frozen Lava Skip, but it's like, you know, like, there's no good names for it, so I just keep calling it Chris Skip. You're gonna see he does it in a really fucked way, and even in 2016, a lot of us was still doing it like this. This way is awful, but... And low-key made it kind of hard. But basically, he stands there to set a spawn just in case. And then he like, tries to get, like, a big boost. Because of the way that he's setting it up, he messed it up. But you can see that he gets it, and it's even faster than the other one. And you might be thinking, well, this can't be, like, this is barely faster than doing it the other way. And he messed it up, so he's losing time compared to before. And, you know, you still need to do Casual Monster, so again, this is, like, barely saving anything, even if you get it perfectly. Well, here's the other thing. Well, he fucked it up, and also this is an absolutely fucked way of doing it. I think he gets it, like, either second or third try. There we go. That was super duper fucked up, and it's just really stupid. Yeah, so, I don't even... It's hard to even describe what's going on, but this is Monster Skip. Obviously abusing, like, invincibility frames and stuff like that. It is, like, about as fast as the one we already currently do, so, yeah. But yeah, Monster Skip saves a lot. It's hard to say exactly how much it saves, because then it changes how you do floating block, and whether or not you could do the 2-frame, and it just changes a lot of stuff. And even then, it would also partly depend on the category. But my estimate was that, like, it saves, like, kind of like a minimum-ish of, like, 15 seconds, but... yeah, it's hard to say. And I believe floating block is, once again, like, pretty much the same, yeah. And then obviously you have to do the ending of SpongeBob now. So yeah. That was cool, I guess. So now, I want to well, it's kind of funny because this run is only like a little over a minute faster than Cole's other run. When you factor, like, the time save from Chris and would be Chris and Monster, and then, like, he didn't do SD-102 at, like, a really bad time, like, he actually, like, yeah, it just goes to show, like, how much of a difference, like, even just, like, adding, like, routing stuff can make, but also, like, a strat or two. But yeah, now I'm showing this because, I wanted to show, what a proper Chris skip looks like. You don't want to do a spin, you just double jump into the lava, and bash boost across. Which is also slightly faster, but, you know. But now, there's no other point where I will ever be able to talk about this, probably. So, here's a really fucked up, like, Cole's Monster Skip was really fucked up, but this one's also really fucked up. As far as I'm aware, I'm the only runner who ever did it. And I think Alex found it, but yeah, I was the only one doing it. And this is the fastest run I ever got, like, with this strat. So, you're about to see it. And you can see that my inputs were a bit fucky, but yeah, that was absolutely fucked up. First of all, this is slower than the traditional one, and second, it is just objectively harder, like, there's clearly a lot more going on with it. But here's the thing, right? I could not do regular Monster Skip, and I don't fucking know why. I just couldn't do it. And then I tried this one, and I was able to kind of do it, so I was doing it. I did drop it. It didn't take me... I don't know how long it took me to drop it, because there was a 3-month gap between this PB and the next one, and in the next one I stopped doing this one. I just did the traditional one, so I just don't know. This is way in the future. This is, April Fool's, apparently, 2018. But yeah, so you damage yourself and grab the patty in midair, and then you quickly jump out of the monster's mouth because you only have some invincibility frames. Then you get damaged again, and then you need to abuse invincibility frames again. Like, again, you barely have time. It's clearly, like, objectively harder. But, yeah. But now here's another thing I gotta show. That was found... honestly, it's a little hard to remember, but it was either 2016 or 2017. I think it might have been, like, really late 2016. But here's Floating Block Skip. That is a huge skip, especially back then. We weren't practicing cycles for these levels, bro, so we were just doing Now That We're Men Floating Block. We would try to do it fast, but we didn't, you know, have, like, a cycle, we just did it. Nowadays, we have, like, actual, like, fast ways of going through it for extras categories, but back then, this was saving, like, I'm not even joking, like, this was saving, like, 50, probably, like, 55 to 60 seconds, even compared to, like, what would probably be considered, like, a decent floating block, or a good floating block. So yeah, this is a huge time save, right? And this is where we gotta start talking about, like, the idea of a sub 5 now that we're men. Or I mean, yeah, sub 5 now that we're men. Dude, I can't believe I used to fucking bowl that. Like, used to think it was fast, and I don't fucking know why. So yeah, considering this was the 5:13, and also, I did check my next PB, like, after this, at that point, I had a 5:01 now that we're men, so I had the fastest now that we're men in the community. So this is a good time. So this is when now that we're men is, like, truly, like, really hard, right? Because, you know, you still got, like, the cutscene skip and everything. Tunnel, like, you're just doing a lot in Tunnel, and it's, like, just hard in general. And again, lower standards, but then you have, like, Crisp Skip, which is fine, but then you got Monster Skip, which is considered quite hard back then, and then you got Floating Block Skip, which is a 1-frame. There's a little more going on than just it being a 1-frame, but it is, like, at its core a 1-frame. Like, so, well, obviously you need good enough jump spacing afterwards, but that in itself isn't really that hard. If you cartwheel, like, obviously too far to the left, you're fucked. If you cartwheel too far to the right, you're fucked. So you need to try and cartwheel on this spike. The thing is, well, again, okay, so Patrick has 3 damage animations that he cycles through from boot. And because you need to damage yourself for Creek, like, that's not great. So we never even bothered, like, trying to remember. Oh, and also, not at this point, but, like, when Floating Block Skip was found, then Disco Skip would also fuck with that too. But after BBBH backwards, this was the only, like, 1-frame damage boost in the run. But yeah, there's, like... There's a, I don't know, like, it was just the fact that, like, because it was fairly late in the run, and it was before SCDA, and SCDA is also considered one of the hardest splits in the run. And we just didn't normally have to do something, and it saves a lot. Each, like, I call it a full fat mess, where you'll just, like, fall into the void. Like, you go for it, you get, like, the height and everything, we miss the 1-frame, and then you just fucking die, and that loses, like, 17 seconds. Or if you recover it, because you only have 3 health, you can only recover it once. No, you can recover it... Wait. Yeah, no, you can only recover it once, and if you do that, it loses 10 seconds. Additionally, at this point, we knew about, token frames. I don't think we were convinced that the Bungie one was fast, but we knew that this one was, like, fast. But, like, you were shitting yourself. I mean, you were shitting yourself anyway if you're on an okay pace going into Now That We're Men, but you were fucking shitting yourself if you got this trick first try. Like, it was really rare to actually, like, get this, like, immediately after Floating Block Skip. You want to know, okay, so this saves, like, 10 to 12 seconds. You want to know, like, how rare it actually is to, like, at the time to actually piece the two together? You know when I said that my goal in my next PB was a 5:01? That is literally just, like, the equivalent speed of the Now That We're Men that I got in this run, except I got the fucking token frame. It is, like, the exact same, like, speed, except I got the token frame. Because it goes from a 5:13 to, like, a 5:01. 5:13 is fucking nuts, by the way, for back then. It was crazy. So yeah, that's all the developments. Like, Area 1 looks like exactly the same, but Area 2 had a bit of a facelift. So Sub 5, Now That We're Men, unfortunately, it never happened, like, pre-2020. It just never... Well, I did come back to the game in really, really late 2019, so maybe it happened, but I doubt it. It was most likely a 2020 thing. But yeah, like, ever since it became a possibility in 2018, it took too long, because the only people, like, capable of getting it were, like, me, Chris, and Tedious, and after I got my run... Well, that's another thing as well. I believe it was harder to get back then than it is, like... Okay, so we used to split at weird times, right? Traditionally, we used to split on finish lines of sliding and driving levels, final hits of bosses, and tokens that end a level. And if we ended a split on a guitar challenge, then we would do it on the fucking target at the end of the ring challenge. It was fucked, right? Tedious wasn't doing that. He was actually just splitting on all of the tokens, but me and Chris weren't doing that. So, with that in mind, I might have actually gotten a sub 5 Now Though Amen, but I'm not 100% sure, because it was like a 501.3 gold, I believe. But here's the thing, I'm pretty, but I don't know. I know it's either faster or slower, because I was splitting on the rock slide finish line, but then I was splitting on the Now Though Amen token, so I didn't have to wait for the fade out, and then, fading into the cutscene and skipping it. But I'm still pretty sure that ending the splitting from rock slide makes the overall Now Though Amen segment slightly slower, but I don't think it would have been enough to be by 1.3 seconds. Well, 1.4, if anything, that's what I would need to get to 459. So I don't think, even after conversion, I don't think I ever got a 459, which is unfortunate, but yeah. It was really hard. You have to get, basically everything perfectly, pretty much. Especially because back then, I don't think we knew that, or at least I wasn't convinced that the Bungie, Now Though Amen Bungie, saved time, which it saves, 2 seconds, so, yeah, unfortunate. But, yeah. So, sub 5 Now Though Amen, but it just didn't happen. And this is where we gotta fast forward to today, because, very little had actually, been found. Well, this is a point now where it's just, if I showed you, the next thing, which would just be, we started doing the fast, cutscene skip again, it's who cares? Oh, that, I actually should show, the slow cutscene skip, because it was very, standard. Yeah, quite simple. Again, only one runner was not doing it. But then after that, it's well, there's a couple smaller things I could show you, but it's literally just not worth opening a bunch more links for that when I could just show you. This isn't even this is from my No Post Storage World record, and it's not even 100% up to date. There were 2 things that are different about it, so I think, yeah, there's 2 things that are different about it, so now you get to see a modern Now Though Amen, and at this point, you can see that my segment time is a 428. Sub 430 is, stupid common now, which is really funny, because not even, that much has actually, been found since, the old days. If anything, it's actually slowed down in a way because of buffers. We'll get to that later, but yeah, that slowed down Floating Block a teeny bit. But yeah, I mean, okay, so I don't know what my best ever Now Though Amen is, but it's probably a 421 or some shit, 422, I don't know. But yeah, you can see the beginning is just pretty much exactly what you would expect. It's just a more optimal version of what Cole would have been doing back in the day. So Now Though Amen, until we enter the tunnel, hasn't really changed that much in several years. I mean, 2013. Oh, another thing as well. In this run, for a long time, I was ignoring this turret. Even to this day now, I actually, since after I did this run, for even in 2025, I kill the turret now. Because he has RNG, and yeah, sometimes he'll just shoot you and that's it, but then you can't do Spear Boost. And then other times he'll literally shoot you off the box, so, it's just not worth it. So it loses, just under a second to kill him. So I can never gold tunnel ever again from that alone, but there's another reason why, well, then it's just, just play better CAC W, but then there's another reason why I can't. So you'll see as well, I bowled the eel from here, and I forgot who found this, it might be Vaz. So I found a route that was basically Bungie light. So at this point, we already knew that 2-framing the Bungie token was optimal. And then we found... oh wait, no. Yeah, okay, so I think it was known that doing bungee later in the run was optimal as well, like doing it in Now the Men Area 2. I think that was known, and then I think Vaz, or it was either Vaz or Ooster, found this, where you bowl the eel from a distance, and then you grab the warp, because it was already fast to come back here later anyway. And then... yeah, and then you just you'd skip having to wait for the eel. So, this entire thing, I think it saves like 7 seconds compared to doing bungee in early game and 2 for me. But if anything, in a run setting, if anything, it just kind of saves more. Because from a load, you're actually on like a pretty good bungee cycle. And again, you're probably not going to be on the same cycle every time. And even if you are, you might consistently be on a bad cycle. And then there's bungee bowl, which we'll get to later. But in itself, in a more realistic comparison, it saves like 7 seconds. But you should only do it if you're going to buffer, though, is the thing. Otherwise, it's too risky, but yeah. And now, here's Spew Boost. This is not the version that's done anymore, but yeah, this is the original version. I think it was found by Vaz. So yeah, we were bowling that stack, by the way, because it doesn't lose much. And at this point, like, yeah, like, Manly's actually kind of mad. I said Manly's mad back then, but I think Cole got into the habit of, like, trying to get Manly's, like, even when he didn't need them, because he was already used to doing that. But because of, like, all the developments of the run, like, we actually got to a point where we need the Manly's, so... But this trick is really, really hard, and it made this level, like, well, again, just really hard. So, you want to jump off the eel, and depending on when you jump off the eel, you can get differing amounts of height, which is so fucking awesome. But then, you can just kind of manip the spewer, and then you stand in the right spot, bash in front of it, and then if you've done it right, you bash, again, off of the ball. I'm not gonna go into a 10-minute long rant about how this is the worst thing ever, but it is really bad. It saves like 5 seconds if you do it perfectly. But even then, you can see that my angle was... like, this did save like the maximum time, because I had to wait for this anyway, but you can see, like, it's very, like... you know... yeah, I don't know, it's struggling to get my words across, because, like, I haven't had to deal with the frustration of this for a while, so it's... well, partly, but not nearly to the same extent, so it's just, you know... but yeah, you just, but where you stand still can differ depending on, again, how much height you had, and the angle, you want a good angle as well, so I'm standing, like, there's, like, these 4, like, bolts on the pressure plate, so I'm standing, like, slightly in front of the second one. You know what the annoying thing is that the first one is the really hard one, and the second one is not very hard. But if you get a bad angle from the first one, you might not be able to attempt the second one, and then, like, you just save so little, it's like, literally, what's the point? Another thing as well is that health matters. If you get hit before the tunnel, then you're literally just fucked. Like, you're actually just fucked. And if you get hit in the tunnel, you're fucked as well. The only way you would not be fucked is if you either died in, before the tunnel, which at that point, the run might be dead anyway, if you're good enough for the run to be doing Spew Boost, if you have a, you know, if you're good enough for the game, then that amount of time lost, even just drowning in the lava now, though, man, like, that could potentially mean the end of the run. Or you need to grab the patty before cutscene skip, but if you're doing this, you're definitely doing the optimal cutscene skip, so you need to, like, grab the patty and then do optimal cutscene skip. So that loses time, and then it's just like, bruh. Yeah, this is, like, pretty bad. Like, again, I don't have the energy to go into a huge rant about it, but this is just, like, really fucking bad. Now, here's another thing. So in 2019, I found, and I never find shit, so, you know, I found that, if you bowl this lobster from a distance, he only requires 3 hits to kill. And you can just kill him 2.5 seconds faster. And it's also just easier than what we used to do, because there's no possible way that the enemies can get in your way because you don't even fucking spawn them. So this is literally just easier. The only problem is that, like, you have to kill the turret, but that was factored into the timing, so we also get, like, not literally free manly. Well, yeah, kind of free manlies, because, you know, the alternative is skipping it, and then you lose 2.5 seconds, so literally what's the point? So I found that in 2019, and then, I think Toxic Pinhead found, the ledge grab version of the trick, which saves even more. I think it's like 1.5 seconds or 2 seconds or something. But yeah, first bowl is here, then you slightly delay your second bowl shot, so that you can... You don't have to, but you need to delay it a tiny bit anyway, but it's for the popper, so you get more manlies, and so that he can't shoot you. And then you just do a third shot, like only a tiny bit delayed on the third shot. And then you ledge grab this, and yeah, because ledge grabbing takes priority over cutscenes, which we already knew from BBBH. Yeah, we already knew that from BBBH, so Toxic Pinhead just applied that here. There are other versions of this you can do. Oh yeah, so basically the lobster... The reason why Cola only had to do 4 hits, and then he had to do 6 hits, and then I said that it sometimes varied between 5 and 6, and now we just have to do 3, is because the lobster only registers damage every 2 seconds, right? Well, yeah, that's basically... That's what it all came down to. It turns out. It wasn't inconsistent, we were just bowling it too fast. So yeah. It was just... He only takes damage every 2 seconds. So there were other versions of this. You can do a slightly less delayed than this, but another thing you can do is that you can kind of, like, hug the edge. If you're... It's hard to do, but you can prevent the enemies from spawning entirely, but it's not really worth it because there's a slight slope here, so the ball can kind of just slope and potentially miss the lobster, but even if it hits it, you're losing some speed, so it's not great. But yeah. Also, sometimes you can fuck this up. Like, sometimes you fuck it up in a way we need to, like, stand here and bowl him, but then ledge grabbing here is, like, really hard for some reason, so it's just better to, even if you're standing around here, to just kind of, like, move here and ledge grab. The falling bowl, I don't even know what these are, but, we called them, I don't know why, but we call them coconuts, even though they're literally not. But you saw it almost hit me. Like, yeah, I've had a good handful of runs back in the day just fucking murder me. Because you frequently have 1 health here, especially after speed boost, you can have 1 health. So Area 1 has changed a lot. I mean, Bungie is not in it. Obviously, like, there's just a significantly higher standard for playing well. And then... You do that eel ball shot, and you do spew boost, and lobster has some difficulty to it. So, a lot of transformations, well, a lot of advancements, I guess you could say. And now here's Bash Gang, which I fucked up because of course it did. It saves like 1.5 seconds or some shit compared to the door. It is kind of hard. There's like a little, like, you can see I like started sloping downwards. When you like... I think when you, I don't remember exactly, I think when you are, like, fully off the ground, because you still have coyote frames, but when you're, like, not touching the ground anymore, I think that's, like, the perfect time to bash, but I think I did it maybe a teeny bit too early or late, I can't tell. There is a ledge grab skip here, but it's, like, never seen. You need to use, like, a really disgusting angle that looks like it's not gonna work, and it kind of fucking sucks, so... Yeah, but obviously that just saves the amount of time of however much a ledge grab saves, which is like 1.5 seconds. And now here's Quick Chris. Another trick. So, this automatically made Chris skip in itself a lot harder, because you remember when I said you don't want to spin for Chris skip? Yeah, you need to spin for, you literally like need to spin for Quick Chris. Because you're getting damage boosted, well, the game is trying to update your position, it's trying to set you back to your last updated position, so if you spin, then it tries to send you back there even faster with more, you know, knockback speed. So basically you get extra speed. So you spin, so you get extra speed, but then you have too much speed, so you need to like hold down and slow down quite a bit. But then you saw, because when you saw like me and Cole do it, we touched like above the monster's mouth, but here I'm touching part of his eye, which is obviously like that's quite a lot more precise, especially when he's moving back and forth. Like he's just moving like forward back. But the reason why you do all that is to get enough speed to ledge grab here, and during the ledge grab you want to like set up your angle to look something like this, and then this is kind of a mix of like abusing coyote for you're mostly abusing coyote frames, but you circle around a little bit, you walk off, and then partway into that you snap left and B, and if you do it properly before but if you set it up properly you'll drown before you can, like, be forced to sit through the token pickup, but there's a lot that can go wrong here. First of all, you could just miss the token entirely. I literally did this in my stream last week. That's entirely possible. Number two, you could just, like, have a bad angle when... Hold on. You could have a bad angle when walking here, and then you're not angled well. You could still make it, probably, but it's just making it harder. To get into lava. Third, it is possible to do this too fast. If you do this too fast, you'll bounce off of the lava and land back on the ground and then be forced to sit through the entire token animation. Obviously, it's possible to just, like... Because you want to, like, I don't know how to describe it, because it's quite feel-based, but you could just, like, not be flicked left at all, and then just plop onto the token, and then you just lost unnecessary time compared to just not even attempting it. You could also, like I said, well, you can drown here. You're a little more likely to drown because you're doing a spin. You're less likely to be able to hit the eel at the right spot. You have more speed, which is harder to control. And finally, there is a ledge grab skip you can do, and I never used to intentionally go for it because it makes the trick way harder, but if the opportunity presents itself these days, I generally go for it because I'm better at the trick now. But like you saw that I was holding back a lot. If I held back a bit less, this requires like a really good Chris skip attempt, like really good jump spacing and everything, and you want to lose like a pretty minimal amount of speed, and then you want to like... Again, like, just have good jump spacing and everything, but it isn't, like, it is hard, but it's possible to skip this ledge grab, but the reason why it's way harder, sometimes it'll look like you're about to skip the ledge grab, and then you don't, and vice versa, so that can kind of trip you up, but, you're, like, again, during the ledge grab, I set up my angle, but if you land here, then you have to set it up as you're walking, and it makes it way harder to properly set it up. You have a lot less time to think, but it does save like 1.5 seconds, which is a big time save. But yeah, so it's hard to say how much this saves. I think the ledge grab version saves like 4.5, if I'm, or like 4 to 4.5, which means that the ledge grab skip version saves like 5.5 to 6. So not a huge time save, and I only get this trick probably like 75% of the time or something, so yeah, it's just like another thing for Now That We're Men. You know, and if you're doing a trick like this, at this point, like, you're getting sub-5s for days, bro. I wonder if I ever documented my first ever sub-5 Now That We're Men. I probably didn't. But when I got it, like, that was when I was splitting on load, so it would have been, like, the tiniest bit easier. By like 1 second or something, but yeah, and now we have Monster Skip, which is also... There were like a couple other versions of Monster Skip found, but they're not really relevant. There's like one that's like kind of fast. Well, it is faster than the one that I do, but it's like fucking bad, and it only saves like 1 second. There's Blind Monster, which I still am 100% adamant on not being like consistent. I really, really do not believe at all that it's consistent. Like, that can be made consistent. And even then, it's not even, like, that fast. It literally, like, is really not that fast. But here's a very traditional-looking Monster Skip, but then... Monster Buffer. This is low-key not worth it. I would not recommend it to, like, anybody, really, but, you know, I'm already, like, so deep in, I can't just, like, not do it anymore. It's, because I get it consistent enough. But yeah, this is a traditional looking monster skip, but not that many people do that. I actually popularized this. But even then, not that many players do it. I pan the camera down to make sure that I'm touching the right part of the monster's eyelash, because if you miss it by a little bit, like if you're a little misangled, you just get knocked left, right, like forward, like you just get fucked. You wanna make sure, and you wanna go like neutral on the stick as well, but yeah, like you wanna make sure you don't get fucked. So because I know it's adding an extra step to the process, but being able to see exactly where you stand, like, decreases the amount of times that you will fail this overall in the long run. Basically, the way that the way that I see it, is that in the short term, panning the camera down is harder because this trick already has a bunch of steps to it. So adding another step, like another input, is just, like, annoying, especially because you might freak out and accidentally turn the camera a lot more than you meant to, like left or right. However, in the long run, I'm positive it makes a difference. And then you're supposed to just bash boost out of that second damage boost, but I buffer a 1 frame window. It's not really worth it, but it saves like half a second or some shit. But yeah, you can skip the ledge grab anyway, but then you either need like a full-on 1 frame or you need like really fucking good jump spacing, and again, it's just like, meh. And then, floating block skip again, but with the buffer. I guess another thing kind of worth pointing out, we used to have an audio cue here, like, you probably saw me do it earlier in the 131, but we would, like, for some reason, we're bad at predicting, so, like, when we heard a certain part of the audio for this trick, we would literally just, like, tap A to do, like, a jump, and then we'd immediately copy it. It was fucking stupid. But yeah, that made this, like, a lot easier. And then we obviously buffered this as well, and this is what I was talking about earlier. There is nowhere that you could go to Bungee 2 except from floating block. So, like, that's why you should not go for this route unless you do buffers, because, like, needing to get that fucking 2 frame, like, missing it in itself is bad enough, like, fucking hell. But anyway, yeah, just, again, you can see that this cycle is, like, very predictable, it's very easy, like, it's all good, except I fucked it up. But yeah. And even with all those mistakes, I got a 420. Okay, yeah, so my best must be like 419 or some shit. So yeah, NTWM went from like nobody had ever gotten sub 5 to, if I even get like a 435, I'll think it's abysmal. And a good amount of that is movement, but there's also like compared to, I'm gonna compare it to like a 501 that I would have had back in the days. Obviously, movement is a huge thing. Monster buffer, like, pretty much negates buffering floating block skip, so there's that, so we're kind of even there. 2-framing the, Bungee token in itself saves 2 seconds, but then I'm also saving 7 from doing Bungee late in the first place, that's 9 seconds. Speed boost is like 5, so that's 14 seconds in total. And then quick Chris is like 4.5, so that's like 19. And then I also noticed that I set up monster skip just like a bit faster, so that's probably like a second. So it's like 20 seconds. But that's kind of it. Oh, and I didn't do fast cutscene skips, so that's okay, so like 21.5 seconds. 21.5 seconds of time save. And my NTWMs are like, you know, compared to that gold, they're like 40 seconds faster. You know, 35 to 40 seconds. And there's like 20, what did I say, like 21.5 seconds of time save or whatever. So, yeah, it just goes to show like how much movement matters, right? I will say, to be fair, I was on fucking PAL 360, but it was a good PAL 360, so my loads were actually not bad. But they still should have been faster than they were. But yeah. Again, that's why movement's so important. But you might be thinking like, oh, well, this is NTWM, like, how is this still one of the hardest segments? Actually, well, I'll get to that in a bit, but well, I actually There's a couple more things I gotta show. Well, I meant to... This is a 20... I think it was a... Yeah, it was a 204.9 something, which is nuts for Here Monster. Which is crazy because I actually, like, didn't get the ledge grab skip. But, yeah. The reason why I want to show this is because it has Bungee Ball. So Bungee Ball is notable. I found this on accident. I accidentally bowled. I don't know how it's fucking possible. And I also happened to bowl in the exact optimal way that got Latte thinking, I wonder if this actually saved time for purple. So he checked, and it saves time. It saves like a second and a half if you do it perfectly. It did change the run a little bit in some fucked ways, but I'll just show it first. So you just want to bowl for like a bit, not too short, not too long. You just want to, well, you can afford to bowl a little later, like for a little longer, but optimally, you know, because you're destroying that one target in the back. And the reason why is because you have to like wait for it otherwise, so you're literally just cutting that out. And then you just go like counterclockwise. So yeah, really fast. And that's the only thing I wanted to show, but it is notable. Oh, and I also got the 200 stack for free, I think. Oh, no, you don't get it... No, I missed it. You don't get it for free, really. Well, it kind of depends. Like, it depends on, like, how your dive was, but... The reason... Okay, so this changed the run more than you would probably think. This sets a bowl storage, and the reason why... Like, well, obviously I bowled. If you bowled and then get off of a bungee hook, during that moment where you're off the bungee hook, but not touching the ground, the bowl aura is active, and I don't know why. But what that essentially means is that, well, bowl storage is active until I disable it. And that was causing problems originally, and then I formed a route that made it work, but it lost like half a second of its full end. I couldn't fully compare to other runners, stuff like that. But recently, it's been fully figured out thanks to mostly, it is like a lot of it is to do with Resin, who pretty much figured out Mindy Skip, but he you know, inspired me to look back into this, and with current knowledge, I now know what's going on, and like why it would like fail. Basically, I think it was, yeah, it was BBBH to Sunday was causing the crash. So, instead of going from, like, traditionally you do Dennis, SCDA2, Dennis, Dennis, SCDA2, BBBH, Sunday. Now I do Dennis, BBBH2, SCDA2, Sunday. So I temporarily can't compare to other runners, but very brief. And you also want to do it in like a pretty exact order as well, because obviously for my SCDA backtracking, I do Circulate and then Floating Block and Sponge Ball, but that's like, you want to do it in a pretty exact order, because you don't want to do Sponge Ball before Sunday, because it kind of like... You know, Sponge Ball is the hardest because you can't buffer it, so and you can't see how many tokens you have in driving levels, so you don't want to be spending the entirety of Sunday wondering if you got the token frame or not. Which technically that can happen regardless, but it makes it way more likely that it doesn't have to be much of a guessing game if you actually do one of the other two. But then you also need to factor the cartwheel buffer at the beginning of SCDA Floating Block. So if I recall correctly, I think the way you want to do it is throwing through to SCDA Floating Block to SCDA Sponge Ball to Circulate. I think that's the exact order you want to do it in. And I'm pointing this all out because this is all done because of Bungee Ball, so it's still notable to point out. So then I need to show a more modern version of Spew Boost. Why does it look a little, like... My gameplay almost looks a tiny bit gray here. And here it looks a little... not saturated. Why does it look better here than it does here? Did I have the contrast up too much? I don't know. Yeah, honestly, I never even noticed, but I might have had it up a little too much. I don't know. But anyway... What was I saying? Oh yeah, so here's modern spewer boost. This might sound bad, but I low-key can't remember who found this. It might have been me. It's really bad that I don't remember, but it might have been me. I think it was either me, Carden. Yeah, no, I think it was either me or Carden. But it's really hard to remember. That's bad that I, like... that I can't remember, but I feel like it was either me or Carden. This one is way better, it's way better, but it's still, like, kind of bad. Obviously, you're losing time, just automatically, compared to the, you know, the old one, but... You ledge grab with the mole on, you know, more to the right side than the left side, although I didn't... Ideally, I'd be a little more to the right. And then you do, like, a double jump, like, not like a perfect jump spacing double jump, it's a little, you know... You gotta get a feel for it, and then you bash, like, in front of this, like, foot. Like, not at the toes, but, like, right in front of the foot. And then the second one is, like, the same. This is quite a lot more consistent. The old one was really bad, but it was still worth doing in runs because you were unlikely to miss it in a way that costs a lot of time. This one is a lot better, even though it's still kind of bad. You know, I get it, like, maybe, like, 40% of the time, or 50 or something. And the old one, fucking hell, like, 25, like, it was, you know. But you lose, like, probably just over a ledge grab amount of time lost, because keep in mind as well, I also, like, well, I've stopped bowling here, because otherwise you just slow down too much, but... You can see I had to, like, but originally, the amount of time it even takes to get in the ledge grab position, I could have already started walking. So I don't think this is losing a second and a half. I think it's losing, like, 2 seconds. Which sucks, but it's just a thing of, like, the original, like, kind of wish the original didn't even exist in the first place. It is worth it in itself at the top level, even though it's fucking horrible. Like, well, not horrible, but it's still pretty bad. But yeah. It's bad. I do want to show one more thing that I only just remembered, so I need to grab the clip. I will be right back. Okay, so I won't go into too much detail about this, really. This is just like a side thing. But there was an Area 2 reroute, like, some time ago. Let's find out exactly when, actually. Alright, so, like, mid-2021. But it was just not viable, but it was just like a human, just like maybe like a TAS idea, or, you know, just something to that effect. It's not fast anymore, but it was fast for a long time, if we're talking like the theoretical maximums of both. But you want to look at the left side here. So you can see they switch to Patrick, and then they die while grabbing the token. Which then causes the cutscene to stop, you can skip it, and you actually have the SCDA warp right now. And, the reason why, it shows it being spawned back here is because, they avoided a checkpoint trigger, so the checkpoint trigger is still set to here. So... like, Monster Skip is not shown in these because you already would have done... So, like, you would walk up here and just immediately do Monster Skip. And then you would do... And then you would die on the token, respawn here, and then do double one-frame Chris skip into getting the token frame. So then do floating block and bungee and stuff, and then you go to SCDA. And at the time, it was timed to save a little over 6 seconds, but the thing is, at the theoretical maximums, well, Monster Skip would be made a lot harder with this because you aren't doing it from death anymore. Which would make it pretty unlikely that you'd be able to do one of the fast Monster Skip setups, so if we're talking theoreticals, then that would be factored into the timing probably. And then, the fact that Quick Chris saves, like, 6, this was before Quick Chris, because that was, I think Toxic Pinhead found Quick Chris. It was found in, like, I don't even remember when it was found. But it was made, like, actually consistent, like, a while later. And it saves more than it was thought to back then, so that's another reason why it took so long to look into, but yeah, but even if we don't want to factor the monster thing, like, this is saving, like, nothing really, and even like the tiny amount of it's like, oh well, you're probably not gonna get the ledge grab skip for quick Chris. You're not getting you're not getting fucking double 1-frame Patrick Chris skip. And another thing as well, this is hard. Like this is actually hard. There is a much easier one that you can do to set this up, but then you're losing like probably like a second and a half at least. Yeah, no, probably losing like a second and a half. Like, the way that they did it just then is, like, really fucked, is really hard. So obviously this was never gonna be viable anyway, but just the fact that, like, you know, with Quick Chris as well, like, it's just not even, like, it could maybe barely save something in a task, but even then I don't think it would. So yeah. I just wanted to show it. And now we can move on to the 100% stuff, because we're done with the other stuff. Well, I will say, like, oh, because, you know, Speed Boost got easier, and, like, you do floating block buffer and stuff like that, like, isn't Now the Men kind of easier than before? But no, not really, because, like, because the demand to play, like, consistently and not make major mistakes is just, like, so much higher now than it used to be. Making any mistakes in Now the Men could potentially be detrimental. Like, there's a lot of mistakes in Now the Men that can cause a lot of time loss. And Speed Boost is still really hard anyway, you know. Fast Lobster is still harder than not doing it. Monster Buffer is hard. Like literally having to 2-frame the floating block token is, you know, it's easy, but it's still, you know. Bungee Bowl is a bit tricky. So even though, like, there's some buffers and stuff, and the segment itself is not very long, and there are chunks of Now the Men that feel, like, half casual, it is still, like, it is deceptively hard. Even, no matter what skill level you're at, Now the Men is deceptively hard. Like, it might look, like, fine at the, like, I don't know, like, early intermediate level, when you're just doing, like, Chris, Monster, Diet, I fucking hell, I forgot to show Diet Floating Block Scamming, it doesn't really matter, you just skip the level. Like, it's like an alternative to Floating Block Skip that's, like, a lot slower, so it loses, like, 30, but it's still way like, it's just like the go-to instead of like modern casual well, I mean, compared to the old casual floating block, it's easier even, because then you just skip gameplay. But yeah, I wish that that existed when I played back in the day, but yeah. There was, like, I don't know, like, it's easy to think that the level isn't as hard as it actually is, but then when you actually, like, grind it yourself, like, you realize, like, oh no, I keep dying in the tunnel. Like, the tunnel is, like, way harder than it looks, even if you're not really doing anything. It's kind of weird. But anyway, dude, this is, like, taking a little out of breath. I might pause the recording soon. But we're gonna start off, the way that I'm doing this is that I'm showing old ways of grabbing extras, and then new ways of grabbing extras. So this, I'm taking Cole's only hundo run. He had already stopped playing the game for like a year or something at this point, or maybe 2, yeah, I think it's like a year. Or 2, I don't know, it was either a year or 2 years, but yeah. Basically, Cole, I think this is just like an example run, so even if Cole fucked a lot of stuff up, he was still just kind of dedicating himself to it. Or just, it was like a proof of concept run. And this is what he did for the first extra in Now the Men. Well, yeah, he fucked it up, that just goes to show. And he fucked it up again. Once again, that just goes to show. Now, would you believe me if I said that even if you do this, like, really fucking fast, it is about the same speed as doing it casually? And by casually, I mean warping here in late game and guitaring it like a fucking proper casual. Despite the wasted load, it is still, like, fucking faster. Like, that is insane. Or, I mean, it's about the same speed. I think it might be a tiny bit faster, but it's hard to remember, so I'm just gonna say it's the same speed. Yeah, and this is hard too, dude. This is unironically hard. Like, you have, like, pretty little leniency for this. And then, like, this is, like, a pain in the ass. And he could have bowled it from here, but the problem is that then, you know, you could hit this. Like, it would just be kind of... yeah. So... As you can imagine, we don't do that anymore. Here's the fast way of doing it. Which I fucked it up in my run, but yeah. That was obviously way faster. There is another way you can do it. You can stand, like, behind the clam and behind, like, the rock and then angle yourself. That does lose, like, 2-3 seconds. This shit is, like, deceptively hard, though. Just no matter which way you do it, it's always deceptively bullshit. Like, doing off the side of the rock, like, there were just runs where it just won't fucking work. But even then, the way that this shit works is like a timer. I think it's, like... It's waiting for, like, the next, like... box or crate or whatever to get hit, and if it doesn't for like 1.5 seconds or 2 seconds, it just won't register that you destroyed them, and it just won't give you the extra. As a matter of fact, that's what happened in the first place when I missed it the first time. Let me watch this. Look at this now. I didn't even do a slow, but you'll see it'll still fail. Like, that is clearly bullshit. And I think the only reason why they programmed it like that is probably because they wanted you to use upgraded guitar, because unupgraded guitar, like, can't really do this. It's, like, really fucking stupid. It's hard. Again, it's hard, but yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna take a break because I'm running out of breath. I'll be right back. Alright, I think I'm good to record the rest of this. It's been, like, 20-30 minutes. Probably like 20, but yeah, well, I've already gone over these. I don't know how much faster the new one is, but it's a lot faster. You can mess it up a lot and still, like, save time with it, I bet. Here's a second extra. He would just going around casually, but here's the weird thing, right? He also just enters the level, which is really bizarre. I'm not going to show this, because it's just going to probably look like the GameCube any % one. But yeah, that is really weird. So it must not have been known that you can literally just grab the warp. Like, yeah, here's how we do it now. I mean, I slightly fucked, because I got a bad first extra strap. The cycle for the second one was fucked, so I had to adjust. You can see you just bash boost, and then you just grab the warp on the way. So that's all there is there. And, okay, I probably, actually not this, okay. So, I'm not gonna show, like, Cole's hundo, because it's just gonna look the same as all of his other ones, except he has to go, like, a few seconds out of his way for the extra. This is a modern, I don't know how well I did it in this, probably well enough. Here is a proper modern, full-on, like, optimal cycle for this level, and this already saves like 9-8 seconds compared to what we were doing before. And by we, I don't mean Cole, I mean, like, we had like a pretty, like, standard cycle. I mean, hardly anybody plays this oral extras, so you know, so when I say standard, you know, it might be a bit of an exaggeration, but like the cycle that you should generally go for if you're good enough, you know, it's probably like intermediate level cycle. Pretty lenient. But this saves like 9 or something over that, but you can see here, there isn't too much to say, but you can just see how fast it is. All the other time, like when you saw Cole doing it, he was going to the left, and we were doing that as well, but then you just go to the right. It is possible to touch these spikes, but usually it doesn't result in death, it just results in you losing a tiny bit of time, but if you lose a tiny bit of time, that's fine. We found out, like in like 2023 or 2024, if you, like, slam a trampoline, because sometimes when you go on a trampoline block or a trampoline, it won't give you your double jump for some reason sometimes, just for seemingly no reason. But if you slam, obviously only as Patrick, because SpongeBob doesn't have slam in this game, if you slam, then there is a, well, you're guaranteed, as long as you don't fuck up the slam, to get your double jump. You have to do it close enough to the, well, I'm not sure about with unupgraded slam. I think with unupgraded slam, it doesn't matter, but with upgraded slam, you'll get stunned if you do it too far away, so you have a decent amount of leniency, but yeah, you can see the cycle. But here's the other thing. I made it here quite early as well. But you can see that I avoided this checkpoint trigger. So, you know, diet floating block skip, the way that it works is that you avoid this trigger, and then you go up here, and then you cartwheel down to the end, because the Hans triggers move along with the checkpoints. I believe the final... Okay, so, at the beginning, you know, the fucking Hans triggers are around down here. Then I think the next two checkpoints have... I think they both have the same, Hans triggers. So we've got to avoid both. So we avoid this one by going on the side. Yeah, so you would cartwheel, like, off here for diet floating block skip. But yeah, you can see the cycle is pretty good. Yep, doing it optimally, you need to get damage off that spike, so you gotta go neutral before touching the spike. And you can see them hugging the left side. You don't have a ton of leniency, but I avoided the checkpoint trigger, which means that the Hans triggers have still not updated, which then allows me to do this. You just cartwheel off straight from here, and it saves a shit ton of time. I mean, I think the fastest Cole got, like, without the extra, when we were looking, I think the fastest you got was, like, 2:14 or something, and this is a, like, 2:20. Yeah, it was a 2:20 with the extra, so... Yeah, pretty damn fast. Oh, and another thing is that you know that rerouting annoying stuff I mentioned? Bungee Bowl is not does not affect anything in extras categories, like, because you just immediately get rid of the ball. In your pole storage, and some other categories, you get rid of the ball in, like, Dennis 2, which by then is not causing any problems, but here, you just get rid of it, like, immediately, and, well, this, again, I think this was just meant to be a demonstration run, because Cole messed us up a lot, but he dedicated himself to it, so... So here's a cool strat. You bash, you hit the spawner, and then you bash to try and bash boost off of it when it explodes to get to the extra in the distance. And he was a little closer that time, but yeah, it's just a whole lot of missing this. Wow, okay. I think that was like 24th try. So now we can see the successful attempt. And he gets it. I don't know why he opened the menu there. I was just making sure they got everything, yeah. Yeah, so I don't know what that was about, but yeah, you can see this is very different from the one that we do now. This was, like, the standard, although the flower was used more as a visual cue as opposed, like, standing in front of it or on it, like, as opposed to where Cole is, where he's, like, quite a bit in front of it. I think, like, Tedious was the only one going for it, though. And then I think Chatter found the modern setup, which is what you'll see here. Take a look. It may not look like it, but it makes it infinitely easier. Like, the other one is, like, so fucking horrible. Like, there were a few reasons why I, like, hardly ran Hundo back in the day. This is one of the reasons, because how bad this was. Obviously, I wasn't thinking properly, so I wasn't, well, I didn't know that I was on PAL, like, PAL was a bad version, so if I knew how much time I was losing from that alone, I might not have even ran the category in the first place, but I don't know. But anyway, so you ledge grab in front of the flower, turn the camera, spin so that SpongeBob's direction doesn't get changed drastically, stand to, like, the front of the flower, including the ball, because ball inches you forward a tiny bit, and you have time to adjust yourself if you need to, and then a good deal into the explosion, you just bash, and then, yeah. It is, a lot better now than it used to be, even though it's still, like, not amazing, but it is fully consistent. So yeah, that gets rid of ball storage, like, immediately, just... Yeah. Again, this is way better. Obviously, the alternative is just coming back here in late game and throwing the fucking Freezy Fruit, which you would have to do after SCDA Floating Block, but you probably would want to do that after SCDA Floating Block anyway. Because it's easy, so you'd want to do it, like, as late as you can get away with, really, just to get harder stuff out of the way, logically. And are we still not done? Oh, yeah. Now we need to show you Now That We're Men 2. And, yeah, this is what happens when you either forget to grab the combat warp, or you just... I don't know, I mean, Cole... Yeah, again, he just didn't... I guess he didn't know that you could just do Now That We're Men later. Well, even then, this isn't really making much sense, because... Even if, in both instances, you had to, like, if you had to warp to the beginning and come here regardless, it would still be better to do this in late game. You wouldn't lose or save anything, but then you have more upgrades for combat, so even then it doesn't make sense. But Cole, he probably just thought of this route in, like, 5 seconds. But yeah. Oh, another thing that he did is that I guess he didn't do cutscene skip. Like, ahead of time. Oh, wait, no, it is... Like, if you are going to do this, it's faster to do it like this in late game, because then in early game, you can just... Because you need to cross it anyway. Wait, no. No, actually, I don't fuck it. I don't know. I think it'd be faster. And yeah, now the spitter is in the way. But yeah, there's no way to get this extra other than guitaring the spewer, so... Yeah. And what we do now, with, you know, featuring Mag, is that we get to the edge, and then we jump to it, and with Mag, it just magnetizes you incredibly quickly. As you surely know by now, magnetic pickup is the 39th extra, and it increases magnetization strength, which matters for nitros, extras, and manlies, and like 1 or 2 tokens. Well, I say it doesn't matter for them, it just affects them. You can, like, you don't need to do this, but, if you didn't have Mag, you would fall and Hans would grab you, and then you have a 1-frame window to press starts to open the menu early, and if you don't do that, you lose additional time. So Mag saves 3 to 6 seconds, depending on if you would have gotten the token frame, but yeah, obviously compared to what Cole was doing, this saves a ridiculous amount. Now... We are going over the... I mean, well, nah, it makes sense to go over this first. So this is all extras. The advancements in the extras is, like, essentially the exact same in this category. There is one major difference, though. Where in late game, because we don't do Now That We're Men combat, we need to come back here later. But doing it forwards like Cole did is still not fast. This is faster, and Tedious found this back in the day. I'm pretty sure, yeah, he definitely found it. But yeah, you warp to Bungee and then go backwards. It's pretty cool. It's just like a cool, like, novelty. I like it. And then, if you, like, brush up against this in the right way, you can grab the extra. It is a little tricky. Like, it's harder than it looks, even though it's still not that hard. But if you do it properly, then you can just avoid that whole dying thing in the first place, even without Mag. So yeah, that's just like a cool little thing. And now here's where I gotta mention something else. And I guess while I'm talking, I'll just let it run. Now That We're Men combat could still theoretically be fast in one category. And that category is no major glitches, all extras. Because it is actually with, like, upgraded spin, yeah, with upgraded spin and guitar, it is faster than Depression combat. It's just that it's really hard. Yeah, it's really hard. You don't have enough upgraded spin in other categories. I said, okay, obviously in Hundo and all tokens you're gonna have to do it regardless, but in No Major Glitches, the reason why Depression combat is still fast there is because you don't have enough to upgrade spin. And then you'd have to upgrade guitar. Well, now I changed my route so that that's the case anyway, but there is like an optimal NMG route where you upgrade guitar like in Neptune, but I don't do that anymore because it like about breaks even with like an easier route. But yeah, it's just not worthwhile basically. But in No Major Glitches All Extras, it would be faster because not only do you get a lot of extras in that category, like, you get, you get a lot of manlies. You get a lot of manlies in that category, so I think you just would be able to afford it anyway. Even if you can't quite afford it, Well, actually, no, you definitely could if you got, like, a little cheeky. Yeah, if you got, like, a little cheeky, you could. With, like, the plank stack, you'd have to, like, purposely, like, brush up against it and then get first try ball boost, but if you did that, you would 1,000,000% have enough. It wouldn't even... But I'm pretty sure you would... That you could probably get enough anyway. Because that's all you need is upgraded guitar and upgraded spin. And if you do that, keep in mind, that would allow you to get the extra... You know how we did it backwards in all extras? You could just skip that whole thing and you just do it from NTWM. So, from NTWM combat, which makes grabbing the extra significantly faster. So it would be faster than Depression combat anyway, and then you get to... What was I saying? It's faster... Yeah, it's faster than Depression combat, but then it's like double faster, because then you also save, like, I don't even know, like 20, 30 seconds. I think I already closed the tab, bruh. I was gonna, like, guesstimate probably, like, 25 seconds or some shit. So yeah, it would save quite a lot, but it's not a category because people don't even play... Okay, first of all, people only really play, for the most part, only really play No Major Glitches if they are not doing, if they don't have Xbox, because then they can't do Mindy Skip, and most people prefer no pole storage over No Major Glitches. But a lot of people aren't running all extras, even if they have an Xbox, so the combination of, like, playing NMG, like, because you're on GameCube or PS2, whatever, like, okay, that's realistic, but, like, the extras, you have a hard time getting people to learn the extras, so, like, those two things, like, it's just hard to get people to do both. So it's not its own category because people wouldn't really run it. Because most people don't even run all extras, let alone No Major Glitches all extras, you know? So yeah. So, we're gonna go over two more things. One of them is the quick evolution of combat arena. I mean, you saw how Cole did it earlier. So I have my fastest run with the old combat stuff, and then I have, like, the two more modern combats. I already went over this in the history of combat arena, so I probably won't talk about it for as long, but yeah. It's pretty, like, simple. It's just kind of what you would expect. A lot of bowling, because it does knock back, like, because the foggers are so, like, they have so much health, it is very common for them to take a damage point from the ball but not get killed. But even then, that can happen to one of these guys multiple times, and that in itself would be enough to kill them. At this point, with our knowledge, it was just thought, like, oh yeah, like, it's generally just good to kill the poppers whenever we can, because even though they respawn, it's like... Oh, I think actually at this point we knew about, like, the popper spawning thing. If you leave one... Okay, I didn't know that. But for a while we didn't know that, so it was just good to get rid of the poppers ASAP, because even the temporary relief was nice. But I guess at this point we must have known, or as a coincidence. But yeah, that wave 1 and 2 was actually pretty decent. And then what I would always do is start here, and I would always just immediately ball the popper, get him out, get him to move immediately, and then I would start going in circles, because then that gets you closer to the second popper, and then you get into a good position to, yeah, just, like, that was the idea. Like, a good idea for the time, but yeah. This is, like, you have to do NTWM combat, like, kind of aggressively, because if you don't, you're just gonna lose so much time. You can lose a lot of time from being aggressive, but you can also lose a lot from hanging at the back, like, getting health, like, all the time. I'm, like, inching towards health, but I'm not, like, you know, going crazy about it. And that was actually, like, until the very end where that was a little slow. That was, for the standards back then, that was a really good combat, right? You see that this gold is a 302? That is, like, so unbelievably good for the standards back then. And this got a 314. 314 was considered, like, really good. Despite it being, like, okay, I mean, keep in mind, right? These are my ranked splits. I considered a 316 A rank out of S. S is the highest it goes. S, A, etc. So, the fact that I consider that an A, and then I beat it by a second and a half. I don't know what I would have ranked this at the time, but potentially even S. It was at least A. So even playing within 13 seconds, 12 seconds actually of that goal was considered fucking really good. And then the developments came across these two, because they were done so far, you know, January 2023 to November 2023. And here's the modern strats. Well, this isn't fully 100% modern, but Wave 1 is. I just realized this fucking webcam I had. I didn't like crop it properly, so there's like a black line. I never noticed that before. But yeah, you stand here and guitar the popper. And then you just keep spamming guitar until you're done. There is RNG with this. I almost got hit there, I almost got hit there. There is RNG, and it does have the potential to be slower than the old Wave 1, but it is more consistently viable to get a good Wave 1, even though it is entirely possible that you get a slower one than you would have otherwise gotten, but it is still worth it. A lot can go wrong with this. You could, like... what frequently happens is that you don't hit the popper in time because the window is quite small, so he gets away. And again, you can get hit. It is possible to get pretty fucked here, to be honest, even though that's not, like... But it's not super common, but it is definitely possible to get fucked here. So... yeah, that's the first... So, the popper will keep respawning, except if you stand here, he won't respawn, because you're standing on the spot that he's supposed to be spawning in. That's why this is viable. And it's, like, fairly lenient. You can walk around a little bit if you need to, like, slightly adjust from getting hit by an attack. And Wave 2, you stand here, and you're standing in a popper spot. So, this also is the case... Well, not literally exactly like this, but... it's similar to, spitters in BBBH combat, and this was realized with the spitters first, I believe. So, pretty much, if you kill a popper, like, okay, so when the same enemies will spawn at the beginning of every wave, right? Like, there's RNG after the fact, but, like, they will always spawn in these same spots. Like, the same number of enemies in the same number of spots, in the same exact spots every single time at the beginning of a wave for a combat arena, right? And this isn't, like, that has been known for a while, but we didn't realize for a long time that we could, like, prevent the poppers from spawning. Because, in Wave 2, they spawn in a group of, well, actually, it's just two, it's just a pair, it's just two poppers. So I'm standing in a spot where one of them is supposed to spawn, but for the other one, I guitar it, because, a guitar just fucking straight up kills him, and a problem with this, strat is that you almost always get hit here, unfortunately, but, yeah, then you just spam guitar and then have a grand old time. When the next batch spawn in, the way that it works is that until you've killed a certain number of them, like the next, like, then the enemies start spawning, like, kinda, like, pseudo-randomly, like, you know, kinda, yeah. Like, there's RNG after you get rid of those enemies, like, but no, you don't have to get rid of all of them, it's just, like, most of them. So, usually when you take out the first batch of enemies, there's, like, a small gap before they start spawning what feels like infinitely, like, it's just continuous, rather. So usually here, you can get away with, like, trying to ball a fucking fogger or two that's, like, in the distance. But sometimes that's a bit risky, depending on how they spawn, and you want to change direction here to get a better angle for the other guys. But again, you can still get fucked by RNG, I'm just spamming R. Sometimes you can, like, delay a guitar usage, though. I did a bad job here, but I could have delayed that a tiny bit to try and do a double whammy hit on them, if I were. Not bad. I wasn't gonna show this, until later, but I guess I can just show it now. This got slightly optimized after the fact. Because after killing the popper, if you have a slightly more, like, left-facing angle, you, like, almost never get hit here, so that was just, like, a small optimization. But yeah, you can see exactly what I mean, like, bowling from a distance. I did almost get punished for it, but not quite. So this Wave 2 strat is, again, none of these like, well, that's not even really... It was theoretically possible to get combat waves this fast anyway. It was just stupid rare, so like this helps tremendously with consistency. But here's the old wave 3. I said I wasn't gonna go into much detail, but I'm going into like basically as much detail as before with the combat arena history video. But yeah, you stand in the same spot, but you guitar this popper, and then this is just like fucked. But what you do... Oh, this isn't like the proper model. Either that or I fucked it up. I can't tell which. But you can see there, like, I just waited for the opportunity. Because a lot of the popper shots get blocked by foggers anyway, so you can get fucked, but it's also entirely possible to not get fucked there. Like, I got good luck there, but... And I was being bad there, but this is really fucking bad. But it was unfortunately worth it, because... I'm not even joking, I would only get past this segment, like a good one, like probably like a third of the time. The other 2/3, I would either die, which is what happened a lot of the time, or I would get just like a bad combat because of how bad the RNG was. Because the standard, again, my gold was still a 302, but I was playing closer to the gold like quite frequently. But to be fair as well, the strat, I don't like only just come back to this category. So, as a matter of fact, 3138, yeah, 2962. So I only did like 170 runs or something. So, not even 100, well, it's like 170 something runs. So, like, I didn't even have an opportunity to gold this at the time, but what you would want to do is get hit here in a way, I think it's because of the Merv missiles actually, but you want to get hit in a way that allows you, because the Merv, you know, like, when you get damage, like, the foggers laugh and the Merv just kind of, like, sits there. And the popper also, like, taunts. During that time, you have... and because of invincibility frames and stuff, like, after... It's, like, R frames, like, you know how, like, in battle... Well, I mean, it's I frames from R... From pressing R to guitar. Like, it's hard to explain, but you know, like, in battle, when they have a Crab's Dream... Like, they set it up in a way to where they just keep getting invincibility frames from the cruise bubble. You get a little bit of that here. The rockets will still hit you from the Mervs, but I don't think you can get hit by the foggers unless you take too long. I don't know, something fucking stupid. But yeah, during the taunt, you're supposed to, like, guitar. Right now, I was supposed to guitar from a distance, but I think because I hit the Merv, I wasn't able to. And again, there is so much luck with this. At this point in Hunter's history, like, I'm only, you know, I'm rocking 4 health, and I got hit there. Usually you go down to 2 health here, and I almost went down to 1, so again, there's just RNG and some skill. It's just absolutely fucked. And even when I do kill the popper, I went down to 1 health, so if I had 3 health, I would have died. So 3 health was, like, known to be like, oh, you could do it, but it was just, like, it was just not viable, like, at all. Again, was literally getting past this, like, a third of the time. There were times where there was one time where I lost, like, 3 world record paces into Now the Men combat in a row, like... And the runs weren't even, like, that far away from each other. I think it was, like, a few streams. It was beyond fucked. And now here is a, much better version of it. That Wave 3, but Wave 3 was the big one. That's why, because, again, it was just so much easier to play close to the gold. You can see here that my gold is a 250.9. So I got my gold down by 12, like 11 point something seconds. Even though, again, if you're like playing like a task god and you can predict everything and you get really lucky, like, yeah, you probably could get a 250 anyway. But like, this is like what I mean though, like, this made us so much better. But, yeah, so you see now, I immediately book it to here, and this one is way, way better. So I guitar the popper that I normally despawned, and instead I'm taking another popper's place. And what you do is that you guitar, like, you do that every time. You, like, guitar in a way that deletes the Merv missiles and hits the foggers. And I did get a bit fucked, but ideally they would have died, and then you have, like, a perfectly free opportunity to deflect the popper shots. But that unfortunately didn't happen. But even if it, like... As long as you deflect some shots, like, you're usually pretty good, because then you, like, almost always get the opportunity here to do it again, and then he's dead. And then the rest of it is just the same as normal, you're just standing here. I will say, this apparently is actually frequently slower than the old one. I'm not talking proper old one, I mean, like, the old Papa despawn strat. Because I did a comparison when this was new of, like, I think it was, like, 10 in a row, like, 10 of these and 10 of the other one. When you fucked up the other one, it would usually, like, spiral out of control, like, really badly. With this one, you were way more likely to get it within the same amount of time every time, you know, like 5 seconds of leniency. Like, you were more likely to get it within range of, like, a really good attempt. Like, a perfect attempt or whatever. However, it was on average slower. Like, nearly, of all the attempts I did, only one of them was faster than the old version. All the other ones were, like, a little slower, so it made for the average to be, like, it was 3 seconds slower on average. But that doesn't explain why I've golded by 12 seconds since then. So my theory, well, either the gold is absolutely elite and it just would have been regardless, or this one has the theoretical potential to be faster, it's just frequently not. So it's probably one of the, well, it can only be one of those two, but it's probably the former. The gold is probably just elite and would have been regardless of how I did this way or the other way. But that's the thing, though. Now I'm frequently getting, like, 256s and 8s, and I say now, but, like, you know, I got a lot better at it. I was getting, like, sub-3s, like, very consistently. And it's just hard to say, like, it's even hard to remember if I was getting that before with the old one, but I did time this to be slower. And there isn't really ways in which you can speed this up compared to when it was first, like, new, so I just don't know. I don't think this one is slower, faster, rather, but, I mean, but even if it's 3 seconds slower, it is way more consistent, because, again, now you are way less likely to die. You still can have those really bad ones where you lose, like, 15, 20 seconds, but, like, it is so much better now. It's insane. And I'm even, like, the other thing as well, the reason why this is so good is because there's a paddy behind you. So, obviously, you can still get hit enough times to die, but it is very unlikely. So you just stand, like, around here, and the paddy has strong it has strong magnetization. I said gravitational on accident, fucking hell. We have strong magnetization anyway, but I also have mag, which just makes it, like, insane. But the final thing is that this is so much more consistent that you can afford to not upgrade health. Which means that you can skip more stacks and rock slides, so you save like a second or two from that. But even outside of that, how much time do you lose for upgrading health? Like 3 fucking seconds. How much did I say this loses on average? Like 3 fucking seconds. So even then, even if that's still the case, that it's still theoretically slower, it's actually faster because you could not in a million fucking years, like you were not upgrading for the old setting. Like, you just had to upgrade health. It was so hard. Like, even with full health, you would frequently die. Like, no, you needed to upgrade health. So this one is more consistent, and because of the upgrade thing, the lack thereof, it's actually breaking even on average while still being, like, way better. The only problem with not upgrading health, then, is that it's way harder to justify doing a Plank Sponge Ball reroute, but you shouldn't even do it anyway, because it's really hard and only saves, like, 3 seconds or something. It makes it even slower if you don't upgrade health, but, again, it's just like, why the fuck would you do that shit in the first place? So, yeah, so the actual, like, there is one really bad thing about this strat, which is, like, this. The other one was bad anyway, but at least, like, getting damaged and guitaring the popper from a distance, like, that was a little more consistent than what you have to do now. This has more, like, randomness to it, in the sense that more can go wrong. And if you miss the popper, and keep in mind, you need to deflect both of his, you need to deflect the shots twice minimum, if you do it right. So, a lot, and then sometimes these shots will still be approaching away, and then but then you might not be able to hit them in time because of everything going on. So this one, like, has more little things that can go wrong, but it just removes the absolute fucking insane toxicity of the old one, which is just, like, frequently getting damaged so much that you would easily die. So yeah, my gold is, like, a 250, which is really, really good, but even then, like, sub-3s, I get them frequently. That's with, that is with grabbing the extra at the end of the split as well, by the way. Like, insane. So, there is one more thing to show. And I think you all knew this was coming when I said it at the beginning of the video, unless you literally forgot. Again, I'm gonna say this, even though I'll probably be wrong, but I'm not gonna go into much detail about this. This is a reroute where you skip, like, part of Tunnel, and then you come back and do Bungee in late game, and it saves over 20 seconds. The problem is that I've never even gotten it once. Like, I'm not talking in a run, I'm talking in practice, I've never gotten it once. So you would grab the extra here, jump up here, get out of bounds. It's spliced for a fucking reason. And then you would wait for the turret missiles, and then you would clip back in bounds, which is hard, by the way, and then face SpongeBob away from a bullet, but then you descend to it with the right angle at the right time and everything, and then you bash boost off of it, and then ledge grab the thing. Which, like, it is definitely possible to skip the ledge grab, but it's also possible for the platform to be so far away and your angle to be off enough to where you just miss this anyway. And keep in mind what I said about the turret having RNG, and he's activated from the very beginning of the level, and which means that it's not fully predictable what cycle he's going to be on, and clipping in is really hard anyway, and yeah. That whole fucking thing, like, just, oh god, dude, it's so bad, it's so fucking bad. But here's what you would do in Now the Men 2. You actually wouldn't do, so because you need to get across anyway, and you need to grab this anyway, it's just faster to just go across. It's literally like a second or two faster to literally just not do cutscene skip. And then you do an R clip. It is kind of easy to accidentally guitar the boxes on accident and get fucked, but this only saves a few seconds, but it's because you don't need the manlies, because you already have everything you need. Because Hundo has evolved to the point where the only additional upgrades you get compared to no pause storage is just spin, which will literally always be the case because of BBBH combat's spitters. Even if we could figure out the moves and Now the Man combat, even if we could find a way for that move to never be an issue, the spitters in BBBH, like, you lose time from not having upgraded spin. Even in theory, I couldn't even imagine a TAS. There's no way a TAS would even... An Xbox TAS would actually have to sit through the upgrade FMV. There's no way that even an Xbox TAS would not upgrade spin. Like, that's how certain I am. So you need spin, and, actually, I just realized that's it. Yeah, that's literally it. So you need 9,000 manlies, by the time you do BBBH combat. But yeah, then you clip in and do this. You might be on a bad cycle there, you might be on a good cycle, like with the box, the floating box. And then you do Bungee. This was actually like a really good cycle. I think I don't remember if I did this from load or not. Actually, there's no way I did it. There's no way I did Now the Men combat just so I could do this from fucking load. So I don't know if you'd actually, like, get a good cycle here normally, but yeah, you can't do Bungee Ball because it's just, you know. So this is a little bit of an optimistic timing. Some things would be a little different because 3K Bungee was factored into this timing, even though it wouldn't be now, but then it's not worth getting into. I also, when I timed the old Hogan's one, because I thought it'd save more, it actually saved less. I improved the R clip to be a little faster as well. So there's a couple things that are into it that you have to factor, but just saying it saves over 20 seconds is like a pretty realistic way of looking at it. Except, not really realistic because, well, it's just fucking bad. Yeah, it's just bad, really bad. But I could maybe see a future where this is done. It's just like the clip-in specifically need, like, well, there's other issues too, but like, it is primarily the clip needs to be made more consistent. And it saves time on all tokens, so that's another development. It wouldn't save time anywhere else because it skips so many manlies that it's just like, you can't, dude. Even in Hundo, you'd have to do Rock Slide too early, so it's just, like, it's fucked. I know there was other things I wanted to say. Oh yeah, here's one thing I wanted to say. I don't remember exactly the timing, but, you know, obviously movie is like... I wouldn't call it like, I mean, it depends on the category, but if it like no pause storage, I wouldn't necessarily call it like slow-paced, really, or like that slow-paced. But of course there are moments where it is slow, like Sunday is slow. But then you have moments like all the bosses, well not all the bosses, but all the mini-bosses, like they're fast, you know, Plank Combat's really fast, Ice Skating's really fast. But like... Now the men's like token distribution is really bizarre, because you don't get any tokens in Area 1. Like, you just don't get any at all because we skipped Bungee temporarily. And then in Area 2, you get all 5. I mean, I know you go back to Area 1, but it's part of the Area 2 split, so I still count that as, you know... It's just really funny because, Bungie, like... Bungie in itself, I think is, like, a minute long because of Tunnel Clip. Bungie in itself is, like, a minute long. But if you're not factoring that, because, again, it would depend on the category, like, you can't do that, no pause storage. Oh, and also, you literally just, like, wouldn't get the Bungie warp, and there's no place to go back to it in late game, so yeah, even then, it isn't even just the manly, it's also just, like, literally when would you go back there? For, like, NMG all extras or some shit, like, maybe there's something there, but... I don't know. But, actually, yeah, I think it'd be fast in NMG all extras. Hip hip hooray. But yeah, it's not, like... I remember, looking into it before. The Chris token is technically the slowest platforming token in the run. By technicality. As in, like... Well, it's not the slowest, obviously, but what I mean is that... That is the longest you go in the run. Starting from when you last collected a token, or, like, when you collected the last token before getting the next platforming token. It is, like, the longest you have to go in the run without getting a platforming token, which is nuts, because the Rock Slide token, and then the entirety of Area 1 you don't grab anything, and then, like 20-30 seconds into Area 2 you grab the Chris token. So you literally go, like almost, well, not almost, you go, like, 2.5 minutes without a platforming token from the last token, which is, like, the longest you have to wait, because... even like, Plank... was like a minute and a, like, Monumental is like a minute and a half, technically. I mean, you have to get that token anyway, but you know what I mean? Like, just getting it. Like, you know, 3K Bounceless is like over a minute, but it's not too, like, I don't even think that any other platform token has you waiting 2 minutes, let alone 3. So just kind of like, I mean, let alone like 2.5, so it's just kind of funny. But the other interesting thing about NTWM is that all of the tokens are really fast. You, even factoring the entire split, you get a token at the rate of, I don't remember exactly, but I think it's every, like, 3 seconds, like, every, like, 23, 24, 25, 26 seconds, like, somewhere around there, which is really, really fucking fast. Like, that's insanely fast, which is nuts. Actually, that might just be factoring Area 2, honestly, I can't fucking remember, but I just find it fascinating, because... the Chris token in itself is literally, like, with Quick Chris, it's literally, like, is it even 15 seconds? Like, it's really fast. Monster saves time in the sense that you need to go that way. In early powers, where we ignore all optional tokens except for one, we ignore the monster token, but we still do monster skip. So monster skip's length is just the token animation length, which is like 5.5 seconds. So Monster Skip is a 5.5 second token, which is insane. And then Floating Block is like 20 seconds. Again, Bungie, depending on how you look at it, is either 30 seconds or 60 seconds. But 30 makes more sense for most categories. And then the end level token is literally like 15 or something. Like... So yeah, like, at least in Area 2, you're getting a token at the rate of literally, like, every, like, 22 seconds or some shit. I guess if you factor Area 1, it's probably every, like, 40 seconds, but that's still pretty good. Considering all those tokens are really fast, except for 1 minute in Bungie, which in itself is still really fast. The slowest optional token that we get in the run, that other than SD time, is Gesk Time, which is a minute and a half. My gold is a 132 from 2020, so I haven't been it. So for Bungie to be, like, exactly a minute, like, that's obviously fine. So, yeah, I just found that fascinating. NTWM is a fascinating level in general, because its pacing is absolutely fucked. Especially in extras categories. Like, there was a brief time where all of its tokens were in the run, but ever since then, 5 of its tokens have been in the run. Combat has gone through, like, insane changes, and even though Now There Were Men for a short period of time got a lot easier because of buffers, then because of other strats, and the fact that, like, now we are playing closer to gold, we are playing closer to Sum of Best throughout the run in general, when you do make a mistake, it's effectively more costly than it used to be. Which means that if you did make a mistake, it was often, well, again, even worse than before, even though you were less likely to make a mistake in Now There Were Men. And then we actually just made it harder, and then, yeah, like, there are, like, small, like, there's a big fucking strat in early powers that you can do. We skip, like, almost the entirety of Area 2, but it's really hard and nobody does it. It would save, like, 28 seconds or some shit. And then... yeah, I think that's basically it, really. That's, like, all that's really worth noting. I'll probably do a video as well for, like, other levels, like SCDA. I already did one for the sliding and driving levels, but I'm thinking of doing one for, like... I don't know if I went over the extras in the sliding and driving levels, but, like, whatever. But I'll probably do, like, No Cheese and the bosses in, like, one video, because it'd be, like, 20 to 30 minutes long if I did that. Like, even if I include the extra in No Cheese, or even, like, the lag categories, like, I still feel like, you know, it wouldn't be that long of a video. So I was thinking of making all those into one video, and then I can make one video for, like, SCDA. I could maybe do one for BBBH, but I'm not 100% sure. And that's kind of all I can really... And then I can do one for Plank. So I don't have that many video ideas left, in all honesty. But I guess until then, I'll just keep trucking for an upload every Wednesday. And this will be Wednesday's upload, is currently Friday, so yeah. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.